talking about letting it go and talking real straight to you about how you can stop this trauma from stealing from you. So, you ready? Here goes. So, this isn't a budgeting tip, just so you know. Not a budgeting tip. Nothing for you to budget, nothing for you to worry about your credit or anything like that. This is root work. Years ago, I used to work as a young girl when I was in my teens, like 12, 13, around the neighborhood, and I would do tasks and things for those in the neighborhood. And I would wash my money, and I would literally, if it was change or if it was dollars, I would wash it and put it under my mattress. Now, I remember that story very distinctly because that set the tone for how my life would be when I was dealing with money. All my money issues came from that distinct moment. And what do I mean by that? That distinct moment showed me what I was picking up from my mom. So my mom used to always work really, really hard, right? Really hard all day, almost every day. And we had to kind of grow up on our own because she was working really hard. And when she was home, she was either entertaining or something like that with, the adults. So we really didn't get much time to see her, but I saw that she struggled a lot. I saw that we struggled and we had to wait and things happen, like, lights off, then lights back on. But we made it through struggle. So me seeing that my family was struggle, which was my mom, the person I loved, I figured that's the way it was going to be. So when I was working, I said, okay, my mom was working because she didn't save anything or she couldn't save. So I was going to save all my money. Ended up at the age of, I never spent any of it, to be honest with you. Ended up for that entire year, had about $1,200. And my mother was like, how did you save up this money? Because I never spent it, never spent any of it. And I was always working, and it was just like odds and ends. Didn't know that it was going to grow that much, right? Here's the root. The root of my problem, or the admission of my problem, was when I washed my money and put it under my mattress. That it was dirty, and I had to really struggle for it. And then it had to go somewhere to keep it under a covering because I could not be trusted with it. So that's the message. And I want you to get that message. Get the picture of what my story was like. Get the picture of it. Just think about it. And like I said, it's not about budgeting, controlling your money. Having money in your life has nothing to do with budget, because there's plenty of people on budgets and still they suffer. It has to do with your mindset. It has to do with what you agreed upon about money itself. It has to do with your trauma and the money, right? What gave you your first inkling that money was probably bad for you or that you could not handle it? What made it uncomfortable for you? And that's when you really get honest. When you answer that question, you really get honest with yourself. You get honest about where the trauma was. It's no blame on anybody. It's just finding the root cause. And listen, what I said to you in the beginning, this is root work. This is not when the tree is grown with money. It's root work. So if you have figured out now that, okay, this is when this happened. This is what I saw. This is what I believe. You start to write that down. And I used to write a lot, and you all know me. So you will find that emotional, generational, and even nervous system things happen. So in my example of myself, my situation with myself, whenever I got around money, I would always wash it because I thought it was dirty. I thought it wasn't clean. So that was one of my root causes. It wasn't clean. That's number one, right? Then I put it under something because, number two, I didn't know what to do with it. And I did not have the tools. I was telling myself I did not have the tools to control it. Now, when I got older, debit cards came out and I was using debit cards. I would never touch money. I had my own business, my own office. People would want to give me cash, and I said, no, don't give it to me. Give it to secretary or give it to whomever. I would never touch it. See how it goes along with you in generations? 12 to 13, I had that whole, epiphany, right? And that whole demonstration of what money means to me. And I fast forward to 30s and 40s, I was still playing it out. So the truth is that it's not only emotional, it's not only generational because it came from my mom, but it's also in your nervous system. When I would look at money, when people would give me money, I would hyperventilate literally until I took and put it away. I was always felt like I couldn't be trusted with it, and it was filthy. So, of course, I was uncomfortable, and of course, I always struggled. Now, for all of us Bible believers out there, all of us Bible readers, struggle is not in the Bible. Pushing is not in the Bible. Going through is not in the Bible. We should have what we need. Have. That's the only thing that's in the Bible. The human part of us has adapted the ability to be uncomfortable because we don't believe what our spirit being is saying to us or has provided for us. We don't believe that. So our trauma starts talking to us in our bodies from our nervous system and thus reacts. So our nervous system has to do with, that controls, how the body feels about something. Then it controls how the mind feels about something. Then it takes control on how you speak about something. Okay? So money, 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 money. People talk about money, 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 and money. Have you ever been asked by a coworker or a friend, how much money do you make? How much money do you have in the bank? How much money do you want to make? And you freeze? Yeah. That means you have money trauma. That means it's in your nervous system. I remember somebody asking me, how much money do you make? And the thought came to my mind that someone, I don't know who told me, but they said, you should never talk about money. And it stayed in my mind. But I remember saying, well, why wouldn't I talk? I'm having this whole conversation with myself as this person's asking me. Then I said, I make about $10,000 a month because I was doing real estate. I make about $10,000 a month take home for me. And so they said, wow. And I said, yeah, but I had an office. So I said that's my money that I take home, but that's not including the office. So it was easy for me to talk about, but that when that question popped in my mind, my nervous system kind of like fluctuated, like, why shouldn't we be talking about this? But it's so funny because if you have a job, right, you work in a workplace, any workplace, your money, the money that you make, how much you make, your wages is online. It's posted all over. So what you're not telling somebody, everybody already knows. So you see how we agree to these things in our minds, and it thus affects our nervous system because our trauma has wired us that way. So we now have to rewire our nervous system for success. So you call out the truth, find the root, you rip it out, you call it up, and don't feel safe about struggling, right? That's what trauma has done to your money. It rewired your system for fear of success, and you feel safe struggling. Let me say for the guy in the back over there, Trauma did your money this harm. It rewired your nervous system to fear success, and you feel safe struggling. And how can you break this down? What does it look like? It looks like you overgive and undercharge if you have your own business. You overgive, and I was right with, I'm right there. I'm telling you, when I realized this, I thought it was my big heart, my lovely heart that wants to give everybody that great content, all this great stuff, but you overgive. You overgive, and then you're not appreciated when you overgive. You overgive and you undercharge. So something that someone's charging maybe $200 for, you charge $50 because you believe nobody can afford it. No, you can't afford it, or you believe no one can afford it. So you undercharge. You shrink when money comes up. You ghost your bank account like it's an ex who cheated you. You don't ever go to your bank account. Remember the story I just told you about? Put the money under my bed and I never touched it. And about a year in, I had like $1,200. Yeah. I want you to say this. You didn't learn how to manage money. You learned how to survive. I want you to realize that, turn that light on to that. That's your spotlight. You didn't learn how to manage money. You learned how to survive. I want you to shine that light on there. That's it. You were taught to hustle. And that's why I didn't like the word hustle, because it goes along with struggle. You were taught to hustle and not about wealth. You were taught sacrifice and not about overflow. It's time not to be that way. Let me ask you this. Who told you that being poor was noble? That struggling was spiritual? That asking for more made you selfish? You can drop that in the comments, and you can drop it in there. Who told you that? Answer that question down below. And if anybody else is listening out there, who else was raised with a voice, that same voice in their heads? Right? You're not bad with money. You're traumatized around it. Trauma equals scarcity. Safety equals expansion. Until your body feels safe receiving, it will reject abundance. And that's what's happening. You've been chasing income while your nervous system is saying, danger, danger, danger. That's why it doesn't stick. That's why you don't receive. Now here's a new belief and a challenge just for you. From this moment on, and we're done with being broke. Okay, we're done with being broke. We're done with being baseline. We're done with living check to check. We're done. Finished. That part is over. I want you to say out loud, money is safe with me. Say it. Perfect. Money is safe with me. Write it in your mirror, record it, live it, say it. Look in the mirror. Money is safe with me. Money isn't evil. It's oxygen. And you don't have to suffocate just to be liked. You don't. You can't heal in silence and expect abundance to scream. Listen, if you're still struggling with money matters and money issues, and you want to get around that, right? I want you to hit me up. You're not alone. I want you to hit me up. You're not stuck. Come be part of the breakthrough session with me. And we're going to dig deeper. There's going to be a workshop this coming Sunday, which is the 20th, about this subject. And I'm going to teach you how to do it. This Sunday, you look at the comments, you can register and attend. It's going to be an hour and a half. It's not just talk. It's going to be way actionable steps that you can train yourself to not play small, but you can refrain, you can keep moving towards wealth and keep it going and be safe around money and feel safe around money. This is Edna White. I hope to see you on the 20th. Remember to look down below of this video. You'll find the breakthrough session on July 20th, and it's at 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. See you then. Bye for now.